I think it is time we inform the Senate that our ability to use the Force is diminished.
Stellaris 4.3 will be coming in Q1 of 2026 next year. There are going to be some massive changes coming to fleets. The devs are finally going to be reducing our fleet numbers, giving us some performance improvements and making each individual ship more important and more impactful. The devs are also calling this next patch the Reckoning because it is a reckoning for the economic exuberance and overabundance we have been experiencing in game. They're doing a massive balance pass on the economy, and they're going to be nerfing the crap out of most bonuses so that bonuses are more impactful. There are changes coming to the way that shields work, there are changes coming to the way that armor works, we're getting changes to Fallen Empire buildings, changes to a whole host of features, and an open beta to try all of this out. We're going to not just go through the main features of 4.3, but then an in-depth patch notes of the 4.3 open beta. This is going to be a phenomenally long video. Make sure you're ready for it. Without any further ado, ladies and gentlemen, though, let's dive in. The developers are bringing us a brand new open beta for the 4.3 release. This open beta is apparently very compartmentalized, so the devs will have the option to pick and choose different aspects to bring into the final release if they like how the player base reacts and how they work. The first content drop of the status open beta includes only a partial set of economic and naval change branches on top of a 4.2 base. That means that they have a lot more ideas and a lot more to come than what we're going to go through today. And let me tell you, there is a lot more to go through today. If all goes according to plan, 4.3 will be released to the live branch during the first quarter of 2026. But if the devs deem that it's not ready yet, they're planning to keep it in beta for a bit longer. It's also possible that they'll choose to release some elements in 4.3 and then continue with a 4.4 open beta with the things that still need more work or polish. The economic changes in 4.0 brought a high level of customization to planets and introduced ways of optimizing your production that did not exist before. This has led to much stronger overall results. Coupled with the power creep of the Ascension expansions, Empires are able to create fleets that dwarf the endgame fleets of 3.x by the time they reach the mid-game. This isn't just the players as well, the devs are referring to the AI Empires also. The changes in this beta seek to ratchet that power level back significantly, restricting most sources of non-linear economic growth in order to bring everyone to a more balanced level overall. Their pass is not yet complete, so they are sure that we, the players, will be able to find some civics traits or other sources that the devs haven't gotten to yet. That is okay, but we should expect that when the devs are done, they will have adjusted those as well. Some other changes are still in a work in progress state, waiting for some code support to make them work the way that the devs want them to. So helping the developers to find things that they may have missed or to display excessive synergies and highlighting them will be very, very helpful. Internally, this branch has been nicknamed the Reckoning before it got its constellation name of Cetus. That is because 50 weeks of being overpowered are coming to an end, ladies and gentlemen. This is the end of the cycle for economic maximization in Stellaris. What is the design goal and philosophy with this patch? Overall, the devs are not trying to recreate the economic levels of 3.x in this branch. What they are looking for is where the baseline of the 4.x economy should be. They believe that this is at a level that is much lower than the current 4.0 to 4.2 levels, and that there are parts of Stellaris that have not been an interesting challenge for quite a long time. There's not much incentive, for example, for doing the special project to pacify hostile space fauna. If an early game fleet can casually erase them from existence, why would we bother? So the devs wanted to reduce the number of ships in the game to both improve performance and to make the ships that we have feel more valuable. Wow, that is a bold and interesting choice, a brilliant brand new idea that I've definitely never ever heard before mentioned by anybody. I'm definitely not milking this. Anyway, if you have 20 full fleets moving around in a Doom stack, each individual battleship you may have is just another number. The devs have mentioned a popular mod which multiplies the power and cost of ships to improve performance. But they didn't mention my video. It did accomplish both of these goals, but the devs desired a system that they believed would fit both early and late game. They came to the conclusion that as long as the changes were consistent across the entire playing field, the economy in ships did not absolutely necessitate equal power increases to achieve the desired results. Economic output and fleet power will be significantly lower than what you're used to, and some things that were previously trivial threats may now become a real obstacle. In previous dev diaries, the game director mentioned that he experimented with a system where naval hulls would tier up into advanced hull types. This did reduce endgame ship counts and made individual ships more impactful, but they found a few drawbacks with the experiment. The importance of tech was increased even more than it already was, and there were some growing pains moments when converting fleets up to the next tier that the dev thought might be interesting, but then they became more annoying than fun. So far, the developers have actually enjoyed the challenges posed by the following variant a little more. Let's dive into this variant before we check out the full and extensive patch notes upon it. The Cetus Open Beta is now decoupling naval capacity from the Corvette standard. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, we are getting our very own Eladrin shock. Just like how in the POP rework, this gave the developers more granularity with jobs, this decoupling from the Corvette standard gives the devs the design space to do things like give frigates their own spot in the lineup partway between corvettes and destroyers. And it lets the developers move bioships onto their own scale. Starting naval capacity has been doubled to 40, and you'll still typically start with 3 corvettes, but they will take up far more naval capacity than before. This does make it easier to maintain power projection, but building a massive fleet is a much larger undertaking now in Stellaris 4.3. Individual fleets have a handful of each class of ship instead of an uncountable blob of overlapping polygons. Thank you, baby Jesus. I have been asking for this for over 2 years. I want the carpets gone. I want each ship to matter. I want to see them. You know, I want to name them and not get burnout from naming too many ships. We're now going to look at a spreadsheet excerpt that shows tentative naval capacity, hull cost, and upkeep for various ships. You'll notice here from this massive Excel that costs and especially upkeep are noticeably higher than before. Frigates are now faster, moving at destroyer speed instead of cruiser speed. They are sturdier, they get another auxiliary slot, and also use destroyer grade reactors instead of corvette grade. This should mean that neutron launchers aren't prohibitively energy expensive on your late game frigates if you want to run a neutron launcher frigate. Titan perdition beams and similar weapons also now deal collateral damage to entire fleets. This may be changed in future open beta updates to something like hitting 500 naval capacity worth of ships in the system instead, if and only if it seems to incentivize fleet splitting just too much. So what is the new Corvette standard? Well, it's decoupled from 1-to-1 and it's now 5 naval capacity for a single Corvette. Destroyers are 10, frigates are 8, cruisers are 20, battleships 40, Titans 80, and you'll need 100 for a Colossus. The amount of hull points you're getting per naval cap is also moved around just a little bit. Corvettes get 40 hull points per nav cap point that you're using, but destroyers, cruisers, and battleships get 120. The alloy upkeep has also gone up quite a bit. You're looking at 4 alloys in base upkeep here for your battleships, alongside 8 logistics usage, and also 8 energy. I'm thinking this is going to be very, very expensive when we combine it with the fact that we're getting some large economic nerfs coming in, nerfs that we'll cover in just a little bit. One of the Stellaris systems designers, Grunts at Work, warned that based on his experience playing Victoria, leaving the Corvette standard would in fact lead to inflation. Juggernauts now have 10 shipyards as well, and the logistics reducing aura they already have. Maulers and Weavers and Harbingers and Stingers also come at multiples of 4 naval capacity, so they are very much decoupled and different compared to the regular nav cap of normal alloy-based ships. There's also some changes coming to the way shields work. Okay, here you can see that shields are actually going to be giving some shield hardening. Nothing for the tier 1 shields deflectors, but then 1% at tier 2, 2% at tier 3, all the way up to 5% at tier 6, the dark matter shields, or the psionic shield, which are allegedly tier 7. The Archeo Shield Ancient Suspension Field is still granting a healthy 15% shield hardening. I don't believe that has been buffed though. For Bioshields, you're basically getting the same formula there as well. This should massively limit the impact of bypass weaponry even for the AI Empire, so you can no longer just spam disruptors everywhere and get away with it. And armor will be doing much the same thing. This is additional armor hardening for each armor module, no matter its size. This is going to mean in the later game, you're going to be getting at least 24% armor hardening on your ships, if not more, assuming you've got 5 or 6 armor on those battleships. I actually think that both of these ideas are quite good ones, given the prevalence of bypass weaponry for its basic nonsense that you can do with it. I would like to have more of a balanced tic-tac-toe, or rock, paper, scissors, I should say, version of the game, where we have actual impactful choices and there isn't just an easy meta to go and grab. Last but not least, we have crystal infused and crystal forged plating. This is coming with some damage reductions. The devs have noted that these are probably completely overpowered, but we're going to see. Yeah, that is a flat damage reduction, -8 on a large slot. So let's say I have a battleship, I could put down a total of 12 of these crystal forged platings on my battleship, granting me for each an extra 900 hull. So that would be somewhere in the region of 10,000 additional hull points and a flat damage reduction of about -100. So nothing, absolutely nothing except, X-slot weaponry or Titan weaponry would even be able to scratch my battleship, so I could completely and utterly ignore corvettes. Oh, and of course, torpedoes would be able to blast through that forged plating as well. But finally, this could mean crystal infused and crystal forged plating is relevant once again in the game. It's been a long time since I've seen anyone even bother using it. Speaking of torpedoes, it has been noted that torpedoes have been rebalanced around these new numbers. They require more power, and this has been compensated on frigates by their larger reactors, so you shouldn't really have to worry about it with frigates, though cruisers may be struggling for power now. From an economic perspective, the 4.3 Cetus Open Beta aims to deflate non-linear growth and push the game towards flatter, more controlled economies. The goals of these changes were to make more modifiers matter, decrease the outliers, and create a leaner, more deliberate economic landscape. Some aspects of gameplay were too easy to circumvent or pin at maximum values, such as empire size, happiness, and stability, while other systems such as unemployment were generally unenjoyable and did not really add me value to the game. Many modifiers have been returned to provide smaller, more focused bonuses or penalties, and during the devs' economic pass, they tended to favor job efficiency over raw output. There have been some significant changes to how automation and Fallen Empire buildings function. They are now job specific, and the Fallen Empire buildings are the only source of specialist job automation. Partial passes have been done on Origins and Ascensions, but the developers expect that they will be tweaking things and continuing with more passes over the coming months. What are the devs looking for with this open beta? Well, of course, as ever, they would like feedback on what they think of the changes. Where you think the devs have gone too hard, anywhere that you don't like the changes, anything that you've missed, etc., that is what we, the community, should be providing them feedback on. As Eladrin has mentioned, this is still a very early build, and he will be iterating on it until it releases. If and when you as a player find something that's grossly out of line with the rest of the balance of the game, let the devs know so they can make sure that it's looked at. Is the challenge level appropriate? That's the question the devs are asking. Are there more sliders they should add to Galaxy Generation, or changes that they should make to the base game difficulties? They have done a feedback form so that everyone can provide their feedback in one place. I have also linked that form down in the description below, so if you're playing on the open beta, you can also give your feedback to the devs. Or if you just have heard about some of these changes and want to provide your feedback on the full patch notes I'm going to go through in a moment, that link is down in the description below. Everyone should note the feedback form will be changed for each open beta update to ensure that the devs are getting the latest information. Feel free to fill it out every time it comes out. So this open beta feedback form is basically going to be live for the next 2 weeks until kind of Christmas time-ish. Before we dive into the patch notes, I'd just like to mention, if you'd like to purchase Stellaris, any Stellaris DLC, or anything from Paradox Interactive, you can get your Steam keys from the Paradox Interactive store and also support this channel, either by using our link down in the description below or the code MONTUPLAYS at the Paradox Interactive store checkout, so that 12% of your purchase goes towards supporting this channel. If you need a quick break, now may be the time to do it. If you aren't already sat down, I would recommend you do so. We're now going to go through at least 7 or 8 pages of balance changes coming in with 4.3 now. I am under the assumption and belief that these are only the first round of changes coming in with patch 4.3 with the open beta, and there will be more. This is not a full list of everything they're going to do. This is just everything they're doing right now with the open beta, so there's a lot more to come as well. Let's take a look here. So first off, the Dimensional Fleet Astral Action has been adjusted to the reduced general fleet sizes. It summons a number of escorts equal to the number of astral rifts you have explored, and cruisers equal to half that number rounded down. This makes me think that it's no longer increasing in size. You can't repeatedly click it to get more and more and more ships every time. Naval capacity usage has changed as well. We've seen this already, but let's go through it again. So, corvettes are going from 1 up to 5. That means your starting nav cap of 40 will allow you to host 8 corvettes in total, down from the previous 20. But 1 battleship is now worth 40 as well. That means your starting naval capacity can only host a single battleship. Boosting our numbers up, let's say we get to 1,000 naval capacity. That's not that many battleships, that's just 25 battleships, hardly enough to even fill an entire fleet. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, ships are going to be much more powerful than ever and much more important. Most ships, including space fauna and event ships in general, have 5 times the naval capacity usage that they used to. Nanite swarmers have received a massive nerf. There used to be absolutely no naval capacity usage. Now they are size 1 with 1 nav cap usage, so you cannot have an infinite number of them without having any naval capacity problems. That is a shame. Nanite Ascension wasn't really particularly good anyway, but there we go. Teeth of the Eater will likely, this hasn't been done yet, will likely take naval capacity whenever you aren't at war. That is the special ships you get spawned in if you formed a covenant with the Eater of Worlds and your psionic aura is overflowing. There has also been an increased base and modified vivarium capacity to work with these new numbers. The Galactic Nemesis marauding ships have 20% less naval capacity usage than their size would normally require, because Galactic Nemesis needed more bonuses. So this gives corvettes for Galactic Nemesis, the Marauder or Nemesis corvettes, 4 nav cap, destroyers 8, and cruisers 16. The Titan Perdition Beam and Ancient Ruination Glare now deal collateral damage to other ships. Armor and shields have been rebalanced, and now higher tiers also add a small amount of armor or shield hardening as appropriate. These grant 1% additional armor or shield hardening per tier, up to a maximum of plus 5%. I've said it before, but I'll say it again. I think this is an excellent change. Not just the ship rebalancing with the new economic numbers to make ships more important, but also adding that armor and shield hardening in base to shields and armor that increases as your tech level goes up. I really like that bonus. And if you're enjoying this video, please harden that like button. Higher tier ship and component costs and upkeep have generally been increased across the board. Crystal plating now grants flat damage reductions. At large, you're getting -8 damage reduction with the crystal forged plating. You can stack at least 12 of these bad boys on a ship, allowing you to get basically -100 flat damage reduction. I don't know what the new numbers are like just yet for the weapons. I assume some of the numbers have been increased a bit, but if you can take 100 damage off, that basically means your capital ships, your battleships, can completely ignore corvettes. Yes, torpedoes probably will still be a big problem, but corvettes at least are going to just be piddling nonsense. Frigates are now faster and sturdier. They're moving at destroyer speed instead of cruiser speed. They also have an additional utility and auxiliary slot, and now use destroyer-sized reactors. So you can get another afterburner on them alongside having the cloaking generator, and that additional energy from a bigger reactor size is going to really help when it comes to trying to place a neutron launcher on the ship. Base hull for ships has also been adjusted. The multiplicative damage bonus torpedoes and torpedo-light weapons gain has been reduced to just 20% of the former values because ship sizes are 5 times larger. Effectively, this is no change at all. The maximum bonus has also been increased. What are we saying here? Well, basically, it used to be multiplicative based on the hull size. Because a Corvette is now 5 hull rather than 1 hull, you're getting a bonus here of 5 times as many damage points because the hull is technically 5 times as large. So they've just reduced that number by 20%, in essence meaning there is no change to torpedo output. Many sources of Empire size modifiers have been reduced. The base amount of Empire size generated by pops has been halved. That's pretty fun. Especially things that reduce Empire size from pops down to 0. That's been reduced or removed. Yes, the game director said to me about a week ago in person, "You'll never hit 0 Empire size again," and then he laughed maniacally at me. I cried a little and I said, "But please, please, Mr. Eladrin, sir." And he said no. So yeah, we're not getting down to Empire size 0 from pops ever again because it was too strong, I'm told. The base amount of Empire size generated by colonies has been doubled up to 20. This makes Imperial Prerogative very, very strong early in the game, especially if you want to sit below that 100 Empire size cap, preventing you from getting massive increases to rushing your agendas, but also increases to tech and tradition cost as well. Effects and modifiers that grant jobs per pop have been replaced with static job numbers. Oh, thank God. This does mean the recent tier list I did while live is going to be a little bit inaccurate, the planetary modifiers or planet features tier list, but you know, hey ho. After a review of the unemployment mechanics, the devs felt that they did not add significantly to the game. For that reason, all unemployed pops now demote down to civilian or maintenance drone as appropriate at the end of the month, basically eliminating unemployment forever. The rising unemployment event chain has been demolished. It's gone. We hated it anyway, but now, thank God, it's gone. Living standards have also been adjusted. All living standards now include information for slaves, just in case you find some way to get them, you know, with unusual and unexpected standards like utopian abundance. I mean, surely you could have utopian abundance plus slaves if you went fanatic, or just regular egalitarian and xenophobe. Xenophobe plus egalitarian, you can make them slaves, right? You can make the alien slaves and then put them on utopian abundance. Why not? Happiness penalties for being on lower living standards now apply to civilians, not unemployed pops. This is going to hurt civilian-based economies, unless of course you're going for utopian abundance, in which case you're just going to laugh all the way to the bank. The devs have also swapped out all of the demotion time bonuses because they are no longer relevant. The developers have reduced most job-based sources of research, but also reduced tech costs by half. This has had the indirect impact of massively improving space-based deposits, which for far too long have been pretty much useless and pointless and completely ignorable. Many buildings and modifiers that increased job output have also been reduced. This basically, I think, means that any building which was previously granting us +1 or +2 output to research-based output, allowing us to get our base output up to like 8 or 9 per pop, which was honestly crazy, this is now gone, or at least vastly reduced. Most stability bonuses have been reduced to 1/2 or 1/3 of their previous values. The intention of this change is to make stability more generally important and harder to just fix at 100, which was honestly far too easy with a lot of empires right at the start of the game. This has also made effects like +1 or +2 stability more viable and more valuable and more impactful. Most job efficiency modifiers have been reduced, so you're going to have lower economic output in terms of job efficiency. Some production modifiers have instead been turned into job efficiency modifiers. There's also been some ethics changes. So the production worker bonus from Authoritarian is now worker job efficiency, and the specialist production bonus from Egalitarian is now specialist job efficiency. This means your output will still be identical, however your upkeep, the intake of resources to output these numbers, has been increased. So it's going to cost you more to make the same stuff. Also, both variants of pacifism have been nerfed because, as everyone knows, pacifism is far too strong, and they've reduced the empire size from Pop's bonus down to -10 and -20% apiece for regular and fanatic pacifism. This previously was -15 and -30%. Many sources of Unity production have also been reduced, so we shouldn't find it as easy to Unity rush the Ascensions, which are very strong. Bubbles and any other misnamed variants no longer use naval capacity, so you don't have to worry about Bubbles growing up and using as much navcap as a battleship. Many traits that reduced housing usage have also been rebalanced. The base naval cap has gone up to 40, and the naval capacity technologies have been similarly rebalanced to give reasonable numbers now. They've increased the power usage of torpedoes and energy torpedoes on standard ships. Colony designations now universally add job efficiency to their appropriate jobs. I believe this means we're getting rid of some of the bonuses that were upkeep reduction, instead just getting job efficiency. In some ways this is better, in other ways it could be seen as economically worse. Numbers should be higher, but the efficiency per pop should be a bit lower, or at least the resource-based efficiency will be lower. Planetary Ascensions now increase the designation effect by 10% per tier instead of 25%. Obsessional Directive now grants +15% artisan drone job efficiency and increased consumer goods storage. The Commodities Consolidation Situation now grants artisan drone job efficiency and adds some Unity production to those artisans instead of just giving all Unity. Also, Ascension situations now progress significantly slower. The only exceptions to these are the Synthetic Fertility and Endbringers. Tick-tock, you do have to get moving. I think this is an indirect buff to Synth Fertility, which you can ascend with like really early in the game, 10 or 15 years in. Yeah, this sounds like a massive buff to that origin. Resettlement costs are now the same across all of your strata. Since demotion is now immediate at the end of the month, this prevents undesired elements of micromanagement where you'd want to fire any pops you then would resettle. It's a big boost here to any resettlement-based empires. The only thing I really want is to be able to use shift or control to send multiples of 500, maybe 1,000 pops in one go to another colony, or possibly all of the pops of a certain job type. That would be excellent. Just saying, game devs. Anchorages now give you +5 naval capacity with a +3 bonus from naval logistics offices. Overall, this is the same total nav cap you're getting, but they've front-loaded it so more of the naval capacity comes early. This prevents some bad feelings. Otherwise, you would build an anchorage and you wouldn't even be able to add a single ship to your fleet. That would be very silly. Now, however, you will be able to add another ship, another corvette, because it's giving you enough naval capacity to be equivalent to that corvette. Honestly, I think the Naval Logistics Office could get a bonus increase to +5 here for a total of +10. That's 2 additional corvettes per anchorage, and you're not going to get that many anchorages, but let's see. Special planetary deposits are now 4 times as common, so it's much easier to find special deposits that are going to give you your rare resources. The subterranean contact zone now provides job swaps for traders or logistic drones, making the traders actually better. That is quite a nice little bonus. That means if you get the subterranean contact zone, if you have a subterranean civilization, don't destroy them and instead make friends with them, you could then make it into a trade world where the traders there are much, much better. The devs have removed the inappropriate researcher jobs from planetary features which provided them. They've also made some unique planetary features more interesting. Subsidy edicts now grant +20% or +10% efficiency and 0.5 trade upkeep. They've gotten rid of the energy upkeep because why the hell would it have energy upkeep when we no longer have energy as the basis of all of our transactions and trade? This makes a lot more sense. However, I am very, very sad that the amount of nerf they've done here to capacity subsidies is that high. Having said that, now that I think about it, 20% efficiency may actually be better than 50% resource from output if you've already got lots and lots of resource from job output there already. The 20% bonus is more of a multiplicative bonus, so in some situations it could be a little better. Let's see. They've readjusted the bonuses from Genesis Guide Civics, so they've halved the modifiers from the preserves. They've added on an action to remove the preserves if you do reform your government. They've reduced the rewards from colonizing from 500 unity and 25 influence down to 250 unity and 5 influence, and for uplifting from 1000 unity to 250 unity and 5 influence. This is a big nerf to the unity outputs from Genesis guides. They've also ensured that a Genesis preserve is created only if one does not already exist. Unity from jobs modifiers from the Genesis monument has been decreased to 10% if you don't have the Civic. They've updated various checks to check for all variants of the Civic instead of just the version for regular individualist empires that meant some things were a little broken. They've also set the strata for newly spawned pre-sapients to actually be pre-sapient instead of no category. That's more of a bug fix than a balance fix, but still, that's good. The devs have adjusted some more upkeep reductions on buildings to match the new economic model. In general, this means you are getting less upkeep reduction. More strategic resource production has been moved to the strategic resource producing district specializations, and there is a significantly reduced amount given for free by the strategic resource deposits without the specialization. Tank-bound production overseers now generate 2 engineering research instead of unity and grant +2% efficiency and 200 amenities per 100 pops. They are now only granted by urban districts or as clerk swaps if you get clerks somewhere. Let's dive into the automation building changes, because automated buildings used to be a bit silly. You would currently, if you automate a building on the current patch in 4.2, you would actually only automate the infrastructure, so the districts, never the buildings, and that led to weird mismatches. How's it working now? Well, assembly patterns and construction templates are now tier 2 and tier 4 techs. Automation buildings are now job specific and no longer increase their upkeep based on district count. What do they do instead? Well, automated workers or simple drone jobs increase their upkeep by 4 energy per 100 jobs. Automated specialist or complex drone jobs increase their energy upkeep by 8 energy per 100 jobs. And automated elite jobs increase their upkeep by 12 energy per 100 jobs. Overall, this should make automation much simpler to interact with, okay? It's going to make it easier for you as the player to know what the devil is going on. Fallen Empire buildings are now set to a planet limit of just 1 per planet, but they're also going to be automating some jobs. 25 or 50% of the relevant specialist jobs, for example, if it's a metallurgist building, you'll get 25 or 50% of the metallurgist jobs automated, or 75 to 100% of the relevant worker jobs. These are now the only sources of specialist automation in the game with the new economic system. The reckoning has come for specialist automations. There are some exceptions. Dimensional Replicator now produces 10 of each strategic resource, Dimensional Fabricator 25 of each strat resource, and 5 of each rare resource, that is dark matter, living metal, etc. Sky Dome, Imperium Dome, and the Shrink Space Depot or Extra Dimensional Depot, functionality-wise, are identical. That hasn't changed. There has also been an adjustment to the costs, upkeep, and build times of Fallen Empire buildings. Fallen Empires now gain plus 100% automated workforce efficiency. So that 50% relevant specialists will actually be punching up and technically be 100% of the workforce thanks to the plus 100% automated workforce efficiency. Awakened Empires now get an additional plus 500% automated workforce efficiency. Wow, that is a lot of workforce. Soldiers are now a specialist. Yes, that's right. Soldiers have been moved away from workers and up into specialists. This should keep them alive for substantially longer in the game and mean that you, in theory, can have them as the very last pop to die on a planet and easily maintain garrison whilst under bombardment. They're also getting 1 alloy upkeep. That's not so nice. Polytechnic mentors now grant miners engineering research. They're no longer granting any unity, and the bonuses they grant have been massively nerfed down to plus 0.1. That is a massive slap in the face for Polytechnic mentors, honestly. Naval capacity, of course, has been adjusted, the values have been adjusted, and anchorages now have trade upkeep equal to the naval capacity they are providing. Some of the planetary feature deposits have been rebalanced. I won't go into those. The aquaculture district specialization now provides 50 jobs of each type, not 75. Anglers no longer produce additional food either, so this is a big nerf for anglers. Anglers and pearl divers are now swapped out on wet worlds regardless of your district specialization. Factions have 50% reduced output during the first 10 years of the game. That is a massive nerf to parliamentary system and crowdsourcing. This is whilst factions normally do not spawn. On top of that, parliamentary system now grants only plus 20% faction output rather than plus 50% and gives you plus 50% disapproval for any unmet demands. So your factions are actually harder to manage in the new system. The devs have also increased the base unity production of empires from 5 up to 10, so you get a very small amount of additional unity right at the start of the game when it is most important. Civics that provide politician job swaps, that is technocracy, merchant guilds, exalted priesthoods, etc., now provide additional jobs to relevant buildings. Okay, so you're now going to get not just job swaps, but also more jobs as well, it seems. Or is this saying that they're going to completely do away with the job swaps? Overtuned Origin no longer has early access to the Genetic Ascension. That is a massive nerf for Overtuned. Overtuned at present could take Genetic Ascension in the second Ascension perk during its game and thus ascend really, really quickly. Not being able to do that anymore is a big beatdown. Now we've got a massive nerf that is going to absolutely humble the Genetic Ascension. The bonus pop growth and amenities provided by genomic researcher jobs when you select cloning traditions and choices during the biomorphosis, that is the situation, have been moved to the genomic research facility building. This means you cannot actually get additional pop growth and amenities by stacking more and more genomic researchers, I believe. That is quite nasty. The amount of amenities granted, though, has been increased to 500. The devs have rebalanced all council positions that give flat resources to jobs. Dark Consortium Civic now has a beefier dark matter deposit at the start of the game because of that. They've done a pass on all of the edicts as well. Many now affect efficiency rather than job output. Also, knights have been attacked with a nerf stick in a way that we have not seen. They are now only considered to be soldier jobs instead of also being bureaucrats and researchers and eventually traders if you manage to kind of sneak it through right. This is going to massively reduce their outputs. That is very, very unpleasant for Knights players everywhere. F's to pay respect to overpowered Knight builds that already got humbled in the 4.2 update. Strong, very strong and weak traits now also affect soldier efficiency. They've adjusted the effects of commander and scientist governors as well. I'm assuming they've moved over to efficiency changes rather than being output changes. Battle thralls now get a bonus to soldier efficiency. Disruptors, and this is a really cool change that was spearheaded, I think, by Mr. Barbe. I brought this to the attention of the game director recently when I was in Stockholm, and they tried it out. They've played with the numbers. They've changed it quite a bit from the initial suggestion. But now, Disruptors will start the game with 50% shield and armor bypass at tier 1. That will increase slowly over time up to 80% at Psionic Disruptors. On top of that, they also deal plus 25% damage against shields. This means that Disruptors aren't this all-encompassing bypass weapon at tier 1. You do actually need to upgrade them to get more effective usage out of them. However, now that shields and armor, as you upgrade those, will get more hardening, it's going to mean that Disruptors aren't this overbearing weapon that the AI can do nothing about, that we have to ban in multiplayer games. It's now hopefully going to be a balanced choice. They've also increased the Unity production and consumer goods upkeep of politicians. Commander starting level civics have been swapped, so Commander XP gain for Commander upkeep reduction on Distinguished Admiralty. They've added Commander upkeep reduction to Warbots and Strength of Legions as well. I think this means you're no longer going to be able to spawn in level 8 leaders straight away. Machine capital buildings at tier 2 or higher also add coordinated jobs, which means you're going to have a little bit more unity as a machine. And honestly, that's something that Gestalt machines have been struggling with. The devs have reduced the power of the council positions for chosen civics, and the corporate authority now has +1 envoy instead of +1 external leader pool. That means that corporate is going to be able to make more friends, do more spying, generally just be a little bit more impactful in the diplomatic game, at least against AI empires. Clustered capacity, which is a virtuality bonus, has been halved. Yes, virtuality has been beaten over the head with the Nerf stick. It now grants only 75% virtual pop job efficiency, and on the plus side, you'll only get minus 10% output per colony. Previously, it was 175% and minus 25% per colony. Cybernetic traits no longer have energy upkeep as well. The cybernetic and limited cybernetic traits will now swap half of the base food, or equivalent depending on what you are, upkeep out for energy upkeep. Basically making you kind of radiotrophic, or I forget what it's called. You can eat energy a little bit if you swap to cybernetic, and it means that cybernetic traits won't stack additional energy upkeep penalties. That was a little annoying. Media Conglomerate now gives you early access to factions, but replaces faction unity output with trade output. Oh my god, that's better. No, that's better. Whoa. Depending on how much trade output we're getting, if we can then use the mercantile trade policy to then convert some of this back into unity, whilst also getting the energy or whatever resources we want from that trade. Maybe it's minerals, maybe it's alloys, maybe it's consumer goods. Wow, that could be good. A media conglomerate, oh my goodness me, yes. The developers have also gone around some of these species traits and rebalanced them. A bunch of them have had their number reduced for being simply too big. Erudite has taken 30% bonus down to 20%. Fertile has gone from 30% pop growth speed bonus down to 20%. Vat grown 33% organic pop assembly down to 25%. Existential Itero parity, again 30 down to 20. Numismatic administration, 33% down to 25. Dark matter engines, this is a massive nerf for machines, plus 40% job efficiency down to only plus 20%. And the upkeep has been increased from 0.02 dark matter per 100 pops to 0.03. That's a 50% increase in upkeep and a 50% reduction in job efficiency. This apparently makes the cost matter more. Overall, yes, you're still going to use dark matter engines, but they're nowhere near as good as they used to be. Living metal augmentations have had their upkeep increased from 0.01 living metal per 100 pops up to 0.03. That is a 200% increase. This makes the cost matter more. Biomimetic assembly has gone from plus 50% replicator job efficiency down to only plus 20% because that number, say it with me ladies and gentlemen, was too big. Matrix trading has a plus 50% trade job efficiency down to plus 20% because, say it with me, number too big. The upkeep has also been doubled from 0.01 rare crystals to 0.02 rare crystals. Moat-powered tools, which increases your, I'm going to say industrial job output, I'm pretty sure, but maybe it's just basic efficiency. No, that's exotic fuel consumption, isn't it? Well, anyway, the upkeep in volatile moats has been doubled. Exotic fuel consumption has had 10% job efficiency changed to now only affect specialists or complex drones. This is a general nerf and harmonization with the next trait, which is volatile moat reactor. But the upkeep has also been increased from 0.04 exotic gases to 0.05. Volatile moat reactor, instead of giving you plus 30% habitability, now grants plus 10% worker and menial drone job efficiency, which is just straight out rubbish. You always want lots of specialist efficiency or production. There are so many bonuses. Well, I say there are so many. Maybe there aren't as many worker bonuses as there used to be. Maybe this is more important. Also, the volatile moat upkeep has been increased 150% added on, so it's gone from 0.02 to 0.05. Wow. Rare crystal exterior, instead of giving plus 20% metallurgist job efficiency, now grants you plus 30% habitability. And the rare crystal upkeep has been massively increased as well from 0.02 to 0.05. The archaeology project and districts on ecumenopolises now cost alloys to build instead of minerals. Not sure how I feel about that one, honestly. Though overall, at present, well, we'll have to see how the rework to Genetic Ascension goes, but at present, I do feel that ring worlds are somewhat better, though that may be changing with this rebalancing. There's also been a partial pass done for some of the advanced authorities. These will continue in future updates to the open beta. So dictatorial cybervision now grants a flat cyborg job efficiency bonus and scaling stability for enforcers. Physiological transcendency now gives plus 2 unity per 100 politician jobs instead of plus 3 unity per 100 elite pops. Dictatorial cybervision and homogeneous submission now give governing ethics attraction instead of authoritarian ethics attraction. That makes a lot more sense. Also, the devs have reduced the difficulty-based scaling on the Grey Tempest and the Khan because I suspect maybe they are a little too strong with these economic and fleet changes. Roaming Tempest fleets may not always have a mothership on lower difficulties, but the garrison fleets remain unchanged. The devs have also introduced what I think is a massive change to the way the AI empires will behave. This should, in the short term, slow down AI development in the game and thus reduce late game lag at the cost of making the AI empires a bit weaker, but it's also going to hopefully reduce habitat spam. AI empires will now prefer to have 3 or fewer underdeveloped colonies before colonizing the next one. Underdeveloped colonies are defined as any colony having under 1,000 pops. That should mean the AI empires don't expand as rapidly, they don't build as many habitats, they don't colonize as many habitats, we're not getting habitat nonsense from them. Okie dokie. Also, mercenary enclaves have been moved from the regular empire list down into the minor empire list because, of course, why wouldn't they be? and unemployment information in the central bar of the planet view has been replaced with information on planet denizens, civilians or maintenance drones, because that is much better for us. We need to know more about that. Don't forget, if you want to pick up Stellaris, any Stellaris DLC, or anything from the Paradox Interactive store and also support this channel, you can do so using our link down in the description below. If you enjoyed this video and your Stellaris hankering hasn't been sated, you might want to see what happened when I took on a 25 times crisis using an empire designed with only F-tier civics, origins, traits, and more. To do that, click the video on screen now.